In today's world, it's easy to feel like you have to do everything right, be everything to everyone, and fix every little problem that comes your way. We're constantly bombarded with images of perfect lives on social media, and it's hard not to feel like we're falling short. Do you ever catch yourself wondering why you haven't done more, or why you're not as successful as others? It's easy to fall into that trap of thinking you're not good enough, not skilled enough, or not attractive enough, simply because you're comparing yourself to someone else's highlight reel. But here's the reality. We're all caught up in this cycle of comparison and perfection, and it's draining our peace. You see, there's a big difference between what we see on the outside and what's really happening behind the scenes. The tree, for example, stands tall and beautiful, but we often forget that the roots beneath it are messy and tangled, holding the tree up through all kinds of unseen struggles. Similarly, we don't see the hidden stories behind every perfect moment on social media or in real life. This pressure we feel isn't a true reflection of our worth. It's like an illusion that we keep chasing, thinking that once we solve everything, we'll finally feel good enough. Part 1. The pressure of society and unrealistic expectations, a debt that can never be fully paid. In a world driven by tangible success, career achievements, possessions, relationships, it's easy to get caught up in the never-ending race to meet expectations. The idea that we need to do more to prove our worth is constantly reinforced by what we see around us. Whether it's a colleague's promotion, a friend's flawless vacation photos, or a neighbor's new car, it feels as if the bar keeps getting higher, and we're always falling short. Have you ever found yourself in that place, constantly comparing your progress to someone else's, thinking there's always something more you should be doing? This unrelenting chase often leads us to a place where we forget to breathe, forget to be present, and forget that we don't have to solve everything in order to feel worthy. Take a moment and think of a river, how it flows constantly, never stopping, always moving forward. Yet, the river never rushes to its destination. It flows because it is simply doing what it was meant to do. Just like the river, your worth is inherent. You don't have to rush, fix, or change everything around you to be deserving of love and respect. When we start to get caught in the cycle of comparison, it's easy to forget that the pursuit of perfection is an illusion. It's like looking at a mountain from afar and thinking it's an impossible climb. But when you get closer, you realize the path is not as steep as it first seemed. There are always places to rest, parts of the journey that are less taxing than you originally thought. In this quest to fix everything, many of us forget the importance of acceptance. Accepting not just our accomplishments, but also our flaws, our setbacks, and the places where we fall short. Imagine a tree in a forest, towering proudly, its branches reaching toward the sky. But beneath the surface, its roots are messy, tangled, and sometimes even damaged. We don't see those roots from a distance, but without them, the tree wouldn't stand strong. Just as the tree embraces its imperfections, so should we. Acceptance is not resignation. It's a deep recognition that our imperfections don't diminish us, they make us human. You don't need to solve everything, and you don't need to achieve every goal to prove your worth. What you really need is to accept where you are now. Embracing your true self, flaws and all, is one of the most powerful acts of self-love. It's about giving yourself permission to be exactly who you are, without the constant need for approval or validation. If you find yourself trapped in the cycle of comparison, notice the small moments where you are simply being. Maybe it's the way the sunlight falls through a window, or how the world feels a little quieter in the early morning. These moments of stillness can serve as reminders that you are enough right now. You don't have to be perfect to enjoy life or to feel worthy. The next time you feel overwhelmed by the pressure to achieve, stop and breathe deeply. Reflect on how far you've already come, not just in accomplishments, but in the person you've become. The journey toward acceptance starts by acknowledging that you are enough, even in your most imperfect moments. And if you're unsure where to begin, consider this. The next time you catch yourself in a cycle of self-doubt, pause for a moment. Rather than trying to fix everything, simply ask yourself, what's one thing I can appreciate about myself right now? It may be the way you've handled a difficult situation or how you've remained kind in the face of stress. Even small moments of self-appreciation can lead to a profound shift in perspective. Part 2. Embrace the journey of self-acceptance. Self-acceptance is truly a journey of liberation. It's the practice of allowing ourselves to simply be, without constantly chasing after perfection or comparing ourselves to others. It's like the gentle flow of a river through a valley, steadily moving forward, carving its path without forcing itself to be anything it's not. The river doesn't stress about the destination. It flows because it's doing exactly what it's meant to do. In much the same way, when we begin to accept ourselves, we begin to flow with life instead of resisting it. We stop trying to measure our worth against others' journeys and start appreciating the uniqueness of our own. Consider the river for a moment. Its course isn't straight or easy. It faces obstacles, rocks, and sharp turns along the way. Yet, it doesn't resist or attempt to avoid the challenges, it simply moves with them. Each bend and rock becomes part of the river's path. In life, we are much like that river. We, too, encounter obstacles, setbacks, and detours. But when we accept them as part of our journey, rather than something to fight against, we experience less resistance and more flow. Self-acceptance allows us to release the constant pressure to be perfect or to fit into a mold that isn't meant for us. This journey of self-acceptance doesn't happen overnight. It's about stepping away from the narrative that says you must achieve, do, and be more. It's about embracing where you are right now, roots, imperfections, and all. This is not to say that we shouldn't strive for growth or improvement. Rather, it means accepting ourselves in the present moment, not as a project to be fixed, but as a person worthy of love and peace, just as we are. One of the most effective tools to help us with self-acceptance is mindfulness. Mindfulness is about being fully present, aware of your thoughts and emotions without judgment. It's about understanding that the mind will naturally wander and comparisons will inevitably arise. But when you practice mindfulness, you begin to notice these moments of judgment or self-criticism before they consume you. Instead of letting them dictate your sense of worth, mindfulness allows you to gently release them. The more you practice mindfulness, the more you realize how often you've been caught up in a cycle of comparison and how much energy you've wasted trying to fix parts of yourself that don't need fixing. Think about it this way. If you were to plant a seed in the soil, you wouldn't demand that it immediately become a flower, right? You'd simply nurture it, give it sunlight, and let it grow at its own pace. Why not treat yourself the same way? In the same way, self-acceptance invites us to nurture our own growth without forcing it. It's about creating space for ourselves to simply be without the constant need for validation or improvement. In that space of stillness, peace finds its way in. Mindfulness also helps us connect with the present moment and teaches us to stop rushing toward an imagined future. So often, we're consumed with the idea that we need to achieve something before we can be happy. We think, once I get the promotion, or once I lose the weight, or once I meet someone special, we'll finally feel complete. But that's the illusion. True peace comes when we learn to accept where we are right now, to breathe deeply, and to appreciate ourselves just as we are. Maybe the next time you catch yourself in a moment of comparison or self-doubt, pause, take a breath, look around you, and just be in the moment. Notice the small things, the sunlight streaming through the window, the sound of a bird singing, or the feeling of your feet grounded on the earth. These are reminders that life is happening right now, and you are already enough in this moment. By practicing mindfulness in these small moments, you begin to shift your mindset from one of striving to one of being. The beauty of this practice is that the more you allow yourself to accept who you are, the less energy you waste fighting against your true self. And in that release, there is peace. The river flows, the tree stands tall, and you too can simply be, embracing your journey, bends, rocks, and all just as it is meant to be. Part 3. Letting go of the need for perfection. Perfection is a myth. It's something that society has woven into our collective consciousness, making us believe that we must constantly strive to be flawless. But in reality, perfection is an illusion, one that can never truly be attained. Think of nature, the flowers that bloom in spring, each petal unique and imperfect in its own way. The clouds that drift across the sky, always changing shape, never uniform. The leaves that fall from the trees in autumn, sometimes vibrant and other times brown and withered. None of these elements of nature are perfect, but they are all beautiful in their own distinct way. And so, why should our lives be any different? The idea that we need to fix everything and always strive for perfection can be exhausting. It's as if we're trapped in an endless cycle of improvement, always looking for the next thing to change about ourselves. But in this pursuit, we often lose sight of what truly matters, the beauty and peace that come from simply being present in the moment. Have you ever found yourself so focused on reaching a goal that you forgot to enjoy the journey along the way? Maybe it was a career milestone you were working toward or a personal goal you set for yourself. But in the process, you missed out on the joy of simply living. Letting go of the need for perfection means embracing the messiness of life, just as nature does. When we allow ourselves to step back and accept that we don't have to be perfect, we open up the space to truly appreciate who we are right now. It's like watching a tree grow. The tree doesn't worry about whether it's the tallest in the forest, nor does it struggle to grow faster. It grows at its own pace, its branches reaching outward, finding their own path. It doesn't try to force its way into becoming something it isn't. This is the kind of acceptance we can cultivate within ourselves, the freedom to simply be, without constantly comparing ourselves to some external ideal. The constant drive for perfection often leads us to burnout and anxiety. We become so consumed by the end goal, thinking that only when we reach it will we be content. But in the process, we overlook the small, beautiful moments happening right now. Life is happening in the present moment, not in some distant future where everything is perfectly aligned. What if, instead of focusing on the destination, we allowed ourselves to enjoy the journey? Take a moment to think about how much energy you spend trying to fix yourself. We all have those things we wish we could change, whether it's our habits, appearance, or even our way of thinking. But what if we stopped trying to change everything and instead learned to appreciate our unique qualities? Each flaw, each imperfection is part of who we are. When we shift our perspective and embrace our uniqueness, we begin to see that we don't need to be perfect to be valuable. This shift requires a change in mindset, one that starts with realizing that we don't need to solve everything in order to feel at peace. Imagine the way a flower blooms. It doesn't rush. It simply unfolds in its own time, becoming what it is meant to be. What would happen if you allowed yourself to unfold in the same way, accepting each stage of growth without the pressure to be perfect at every moment? Sometimes the path forward isn't about pushing harder, but about surrendering to the present moment and allowing things to flow naturally. Next time you feel the urge to fix something in yourself, try instead to simply pause, acknowledge the moment, breathe, and reflect on the beauty of where you are right now. Notice how far you've already come, without the need to measure yourself against any standard. This simple practice can help ease the constant tension that perfectionism creates and allow space for peace and self-acceptance. Perfection is a myth, and it's a myth we no longer need to chase. By letting go of the need to be perfect, we open ourselves to the joy of living authentically and appreciating the beauty of life as it is messy, imperfect, and perfectly unique. Part 4. Building inner peace through acceptance. True peace comes when we stop trying to control every aspect of our lives and instead learn to embrace our imperfections. We live in a world that often pushes us to be better, faster, and more successful, but it's in accepting ourselves just as we are that we find the peace we truly seek. Perfection is a fleeting illusion, one that will always be just out of reach. Inner peace, however, is grounded in acceptance, in recognizing that life is messy, and that's exactly how it's meant to be. Take a moment to think of the natural world. Look at the way a tree grows. It's not perfect. The branches twist in unexpected directions, and the leaves sometimes turn brown before they fall. Yet there is a beauty in the imperfect form of the tree. It doesn't need to fix itself or conform to some ideal standard. It simply grows, changing with the seasons, accepting the way it is at each point in time. We can learn a lot from the way nature operates. Life, too, is about growing at our own pace, accepting the seasons of our emotions and experiences, and trusting that there's a quiet strength in that process. One of the most powerful ways to cultivate inner peace is through self-compassion. This doesn't mean letting go of self-improvement or growth. It's not about being complacent. Rather, it's about treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding we'd offer a close friend. When we make a mistake or experience failure, the natural impulse is often to criticize ourselves harshly. We replay the mistake over and over in our heads, telling ourselves that we should have done better. But what if, instead of focusing on what went wrong, we embraced our mistakes with compassion? Think of a flower bud. As it begins to bloom, the petals may not unfold perfectly at first. They might bend or twist in unexpected ways. But each imperfection is part of the flower's journey. If you were to hold that flower and tell it wasn't good enough, it wouldn't change its shape or open any more fully. Instead of beating ourselves up for not being perfect, we could practice gentle encouragement and patience, allowing ourselves to open up in our own time. Inner peace comes from accepting that we are not perfect and that we don't need to fix every single mistake or solve every problem. Life is full of uncertainties, and there will always be things beyond our control. It's easy to get caught up in trying to manage everything, but when we focus solely on fixing the problems we face, we miss the beauty of simply being present. There is immense freedom in allowing yourself to simply be in the moment. The key is to stop chasing perfection and start living fully, with all of the ups and downs, the joy and the pain, the easy moments and the challenging ones. Think of a river flowing down a mountain. It doesn't worry about the rocks in its path. It simply flows around them, continuing forward. The rocks don't prevent the river from moving. They only shape its course. Just as the river flows without resistance, we too can learn to flow with the rhythm of life, accepting both the smooth parts and the rough parts of our journey. What if, instead of constantly trying to fix every imperfection or solve every issue, you simply allowed yourself to experience life fully, in all of its unpredictability? By practicing small moments of self-compassion, you can begin to nurture your own sense of peace. Start by acknowledging your feelings without judgment. When you feel frustration or disappointment, take a breath and gently say to yourself, "It's okay, I'm doing my best." In those moments of compassion, you might find that the weight of your worries lightens and a sense of calm washes over you. Ultimately, inner peace is not about perfection. It's about learning to be okay with where you are right now, with all your flaws, mistakes, and imperfections. Peace is the result of accepting your imperfections and allowing life to unfold without the need to control it all. And when you start to practice self-compassion, even in small ways, you will gradually begin to cultivate a deeper sense of calm and inner peace. The process doesn't happen overnight, but each step you take towards self-acceptance brings you closer to the peace that lies within. A small shift in perspective. Sometimes, the most profound changes in life come from the smallest shifts in perspective. The next time you find yourself caught up in comparison or feeling the pressure to be perfect, pause, take a deep breath, and let go of the need to solve everything. Instead, simply focus on the present moment. Notice the beauty in being who you are, in the way you think, in how you feel. This is the practice of mindfulness, accepting yourself exactly as you are, without judgment. Through this, you'll realize that being yourself, without trying to be someone else, is the most freeing and fulfilling thing you can do. When you stop chasing perfection and simply embrace who you are, you'll find a peace that was always there, waiting for you. And that peace will lead to a more authentic, fulfilling life.